Hey guys, Steve here, and I'm so excited to talk to you guys about Act 3 Part 2, kind of reviewing back what happened, talking about Act 3 Part 3, what's going to come up, and the future of College Kings and just the team in general and where we're going. So this is just, a quick video. Just I want to go over what happened, what will happen, and yeah, just fill you in on everything, being as transparent as always. And yeah, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the feedback we got for Act 3 Part 2. So overall, Act 3 Part 2, and this I'm so happy to say this, was the best received update we've ever made. We have obviously a bunch of statistics and the feedback survey as well, and just where we can really look at, okay, how has this performed? How has each category performed? And for example, compared to the previous version, Act 3 Part 1, Act 3 Part 2 has done better in every single category. And I'm so glad to announce that. I'm so happy. There were stuff that we were really anxious about, like the murder mystery. So, for those of you that don't know, the murder mystery took so much time out of development, and we were so unsure about whether you guys were going to like it or not, whether it was going to be really fun to play or just horrible and annoying. And it was really, really hard, and I'm so glad that so many of you liked it. I'm aware that, some people would rather skip it and that's fine, and everyone their own, but so many people loved it, and I'm so glad to hear that. Because it was quite a risk we're taking, and we're trying to stay innovative here. We're trying to make every update exciting, and every time we want to add a little unique extra, right? And that's kind of what we went with, something really big here, and it seemed to have paid off. So I'm really glad about that. Next up, there are a few things that we can improve upon. For example, choices. While there were a lot of very impactful choices, some people didn't get to experience them or didn't feel like, oh, these were very impactful. That's not necessarily a problem with the choices not being there. It's more of a problem with how we present them. I feel like a lot of the time we are quite sneaky with what choices will matter. And this can bite us back where people feel like, oh, my choices had no impact and this felt very linear, even though there were behind the scenes tons of different paths and choices. And that's something, we have to be very aware of is we need to present choice and make sure people feel like, hey, what I'm doing actually has impact because so much of it does. But that's, sometimes really hard to see, even especially if you're only playing one or two playthroughs, you won't see everything that your choices can change. So that's definitely something we need to be aware of. As well as animations that I'm well aware that our animations currently are not on the same standard as we would like them to be. So that's somewhere we're working on definitely. And I will go a bit more into the reasons why, things why certain things have gone wrong. Obviously, bugs were a big problem again this update. Um, so yeah, let's talk about what went wrong. So there were a couple of really big issues that we faced. The number one issue we faced was render server crashes. So throughout the update, so if you guys don't know, we have a bunch of renderers, people that work in DAZ 3D and create these amazing images you see. Now, because there's two parts of creating a render. There's the creation part where you basically, align all the models, pose them, whatever, make the lighting. And then there's the render part, which is the machine rendering it. Now, the render part takes so much for each update, takes so much computing power because we're rendering 2,000 images per month. Um, that we have a dedicated render server where all our artists, they send the stuff to the render server and the render server renders it. Now, this render server has been crashing throughout the update. We've never had it as bad with crashing as this time. And it's also, which is really unfortunate, we released on Friday, and the Wednesday and Thursday before release, where we're supposed to render the last few images, the power went out for the render server, where the render server was. So we had all our renders that were still on the render server stuck on there. We couldn't retrieve them, and we also couldn't send any new ones. And this was the 2 days before release, so we were in complete panic there because we didn't want to delay the release, but we were in such big trouble. And everyone's been waiting. Oh my god, on Friday, the release. I'm so excited. We're there like, oh my god, we have no idea what we're gonna do because we have hundreds of renders still to be rendered or still just to be sent to the farm, and that need to be retrieved from there as well. And it was really, really horrific. Um, in addition, we had lost our lead artist. We decided to part ways. And all in good terms, but that's someone that obviously controls a lot of issues and can help out when something goes wrong. Not having someone to look over and manage the renders is an issue, and definitely caused some more render issues this time. Um, we had 3 out of 4 transcribers. So transcribers are the people that turn the script into code, and we have 4 transcribers, and 3 out of them had personal issues that hindered them from transcribing much this update, which caused one transcriber to have to do all the work. And it was incredible. That person, Peace, did an amazing job. And I'm so thankful that he stepped up so big. But it's honestly crazy because we had a job for 4 transcribers. We had enough scenes for all of them, and 3 of them at the same time, being hindered was just really not a great experience. That's why we're hiring transcribers right now, or we already have interviews already ongoing. Um, yeah, we had then another issue, which was only discovered after release. RenPy, the game engine we used to make the game, which is produced by a third party, had a bug. So there were RenPy bugs that we didn't have any control over because we didn't code RenPy, we just use it. And we didn't even realize there was a bug up until, because this was a bug that only a small percentage of users experience. So if you have 10 beta testers and none of them experience it, you might have just gotten lucky, because then when you have 3,000 patrons downloading the game, and it's like, there's less than a 10% chance of getting it, still for 3,000 patrons, there's still 100, 200 people that got it, and they obviously have a horrific time. But if you have less than 10% chance, and there's just 10 beta testers, you might not even get the issue. And in addition to that, a lot of RenPy bugs, they only appear once you build the game, and our beta testers usually play with an unbuilt game. So kind of they build the game themselves, or they work with the game in like a testing stage and like a beta testing stage, where it's not fully built. Now we release a fully built game where the engine actually implements itself, and we didn't have much time to test a fully built version because of the server crashes, because of this server power outage from the render server. So there's a lot of things that interlocked here, if that makes sense. And I don't want to make excuses, and I think we still did a good job, and we still want to avoid updates, but I just want to be completely transparent here. We had so many issues in the last week before release. I'm quite surprised we managed to get the update even out. And yeah, another issue that came up, and it was just so horrific. The launcher is done, but the launcher uploading tool, which is a separate program for us to upload the game for the launcher to be used, failed the day of release. We couldn't get it to work. And that was just ridiculous because we spent all this time on this launcher creating it, and it was working fine. And then the launcher uploading tool doesn't work. And you can imagine me behind the scenes just being hysteric, like, why is everything going wrong? It was not a fun time, but yeah, that's totally fine. So that's something we're working on fixing. We want to release the launcher ASAP, so that should fix a lot of technical issues and should allow us to much more easily supply you guys with updates without you having to re-download the game and do everything yourself. So that's something we're working on very hard. We also had an issue with downloads. So there's two things I need you guys to be aware of. So one thing is download speeds on Bunny. They take some time so Bunny caches the download, and the less it's cached, the longer the download will take. So if we give you the link 1 hour after we've uploaded it, it will take you very long to download it. But if we give you the link 2 days after we've uploaded it, it'll take a much shorter time for you to download. It'll be more normal download speeds. Now, the interesting part about that is that obviously if we had had enough time and we planned for that, it would have been fine and downloads would have been fast, etc. But because we had all these server issues, we only got to finish the game and upload it a couple of hours beforehand. And you can imagine with such a big game, it takes a while to upload. So you guys got the download link pretty much an hour after it's been up, which, causes download links to slow down. So that's another issue. We're going to make sure, I'm going to talk over how we address all of these, but you can imagine we're aware of them. We're going to fix them. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. We're going to, plan in more time, etc. But I just want to explain to you what happened behind the scenes, so you're not in the dark. The other issue was for those that had corrupted downloads. That was our bad. Basically, on Bunny, if you re-upload something under the same name, Bunny is our upload tool, or a server tool. The website we use. If you upload something under the same link, it corrupts the file. We didn't know that up until this update. That's why the original thing wasn't broken, but the first patch was broken, or the first hotfix was broken, because we didn't know how to do that. We're aware now, so not going to happen again. We want to implement the fight scene. So at the start of Act 3 Part 2, someone asked, why did they switch to buttons and just a choice instead of a full-on fight? Well, it wasn't a conscious decision. It was more we didn't have enough time for the fight. We have the fight fully rendered. It's going to come with the next big patch. So Act 3 Part 2, there's a fight scene in there. It's going to come, hopefully by the end of this week. We're going to patch it to Patreon. It's the start with the robber. If you chase the robber, there's a fight scene there. So that's a lot of the issues. So you can see there's a lot of issues there. I'm really glad it was still the most well-received updates. And you can imagine every release has its own issues. And just because these were a lot, I'm just being fully transparent. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of them are easy fixes. And a lot of them come back to the render server problem. If that hadn't been the case, we would have had a lot more time and we would have had a lot less stress and just a lot easier job of getting everything sorted in time. Now, that's the issues, but what's our plan for Act 3, Part 3? So for the next update, plot is already done. We always do that in advance. So writing has already started, editing has already started, transcribing has already started, rendering has also already started. So the Act 3, Part 3 is already in the working. We're fast on the turnaround. And we really want to wrap up a lot of the character arcs for Act 3. We want to make sure, it's a nice act on its own, and it also creates, exciting start-off points for Act 4. Now, we want to have some really meaningful decisions for the next part. We want to have we have a really, really cool sex scene idea, so that's something to look forward to. We have something really cool planned. We need to hire a new lead artist. Like I said, we parted ways with ours. And that's something that, caused a lot of issues. So that's something we're going to look into improving and getting someone there that can really help us out. We want to fix the render server issues. We're currently working on that. It's, there's a lot of issues with it, but we're going to get there. We want to test the built version of the game also. So if we can get the game done a couple days before release, test it, build it, upload it 2 days before release, have a nice clean version, then you're going to have fast downloads and also with a launcher and also just everything working. That would be the best thing possible. We want to improve animations, of course. If possible, we're going to look into that. That's going to also play a big part when we get the lead artist. They can definitely help on that. And we want to publish more Act 3 and Act 2 amendments for both Patreon and Steam. But obviously, these take time to render. These take time away from development. So they are just kind of done when we find time, whenever we have spaces in between releases. Some amendments get rendered, published, etc. But you guys know that we care about this game and we care about making it a wonderful thing as a whole. We're not just going to abandon Act 2 or Act 3 or whatever. When something goes wrong, we'll go back and fix it. But it may take some time because it's obviously just something that happens while other stuff is being pushed. We still want to push out updates. So that's kind of how we deal with it. Now, so that's our plan for Act 3, Part 3. It's going to be an amazing part. It's going to be an amazing ending to the act, and there's some really, really cool stuff happening. So you can really be excited for that. Now, The last thing I want to talk about in this video, as I'm aware it's already 15 minutes and I really didn't want to make it too long, is what's our plan for the future? So Act 4 planning begins next week, and we want to trial voice-acted sex scenes in Act 4 Part 1. Now, we have no idea how we're going to go about it. Hiring voice actresses is not that difficult. But we just, obviously, we don't have the money to voice act the whole game, so it's only going to be sex scenes. But our sex scenes obviously now have text in it. They have more than just moans. They also have, the girl saying something. So we're going to play around and trial some things out. And maybe we'll even upload 2 different versions of voice acted sex scenes for you guys, so you can see which ones you like more. We'll try out something where the girl actually speaks all sentences said, all the dirty talk, etc. We'll try out something where it's just the moans or whatever. Now, obviously, there's going to be a setting in the menu to turn off all voice acted sex scenes, and if you're not into that, no problem, don't worry about it. But a lot of you people have asked for it, so it's something we definitely want to try out. Now, again, I have no idea how it's going to work, and I'm just being transparent here. Let's see what works. We'll test different things out. If everything feels really bad and doesn't fit into the game, maybe there's nothing we can release, but I'm sure we'll find something, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. But yeah, it's planned for Act 4 Part 1. So, super excited to share all of this with you guys. Yeah, I hope you're excited for everything to come. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.